Hi, I'm Susan with Angelic Energy, and I want to talk today about how to step into our highest timeline and bring our dreams into alignment with our empowered living, our conscious living. I do energy healing and dream work. In case you don't know who I am, I have a couple of courses on Zoom on empowerment for psychics and light workers. And I got to this place by following my dreams. And when I say I followed my dreams, I don't mean that I just followed my dreams and I set goals. I did do that. And I did do all of the gratitude practice and the shadow work. So I'm not going to suggest that this is going to be an easy journey, but it can be fun. And one of the most fun ways to do this is to empower your sleep. Wayne Dyer, in his book, I believe it's Wishes Fulfilled, but don't quote me on that. And I'm not quoting him, I'm quoting what I learned from him, which is that before we go to sleep, the most important time of manifesting is that 15 minutes before we go to sleep and what we're focusing on. And I found lately that when I get to a certain point at night, I'm super, super angry. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody else jumped into my body, and now I'm concerned that I'm manifesting at the wrong level. What my surprise is that that's actually that energy, because I have learned to take the energy of anger and turn it into the energy of creativity, which is another thing I talk about in my courses. Not today, though. You can look at some of the other videos. I have found that I'm actually aligning directly with my dreams. So one of the ways that we can do this is by asking, consciously requesting messages to come through in our dreams. And that's what I've done. So today I want to talk a little bit about how you can do that. One of the first things that we need to do is we need to recognize the emotion that we're already feeling. So most of the teachers online will tell you that we're attracting with our emotions. Well, my issue is I have what's called an emotional regulation disorder. So if you are familiar with borderline personality disorder, PTSD, bipolar, all of these mental illnesses, diagnoses are emotional regulation disorders. They talk about them being mental disorders, but they're not. They actually have to do with an inability to regulate my emotions. And that inability to regulate my emotions has been an extreme challenge for me for most of my life. And so I developed a tool that helps me to move through those emotions a little more quickly. And one of the ways I do that is to start with the emotion that I have and then decide I'm the driver of this vehicle. So if I'm feeling really, really super angry, then what can I do with anger? I know what anger is. And for most people, it's an issue that's outside of themselves. But for me, it's what some refer to as an amygdala hijack. So I start focusing on, where's the anger in my body? Well, it's always here in my head. And it begins to feel like my nose is all stuffed up, and it's not. I can breathe quite well, but yet I feel like I'm really, really can't stop. And yet there isn't anyone in particular that I'm angry at. And I tended to, that's a past tense, I would turn that anger on myself, and it would become depression. And then I would get sicker and sicker. And today what I do is I say, okay, where is that anger sitting, and where can I move it most quickly and most easily? So if the anger is sitting in my head, how do I move it out? Well, my mouth is a really good way to move it out. Most of us do that. Most of us start screaming and ranting and roaring, and that's one way to get the anger out. Another way is to share it with another person, and that's going to help move it out. But we don't always feel like we can do that, and especially when we're feeling isolated and we feel like we can't share it. So another way, and this is the one that I use, is to share it with myself. The anger is trapped inside, but it's trying to tell me something. So I'll ask it, what's the message that you're trying to give me? And I have a lot of tools today. My favorite tool is my dreams. So I can focus back into my dreams and I can say, okay, well, maybe because the anger's trapped here, and this is where our subconscious energy gets stuck. And the anger tends to be about, I haven't achieved yet. So it's focused on that. So my subconscious is going to tell me the real answer. So when I'm going to sleep, I can ask my guides, can you come in and can you bring me some information that's going to help me to move this anger out of my body and to move it out in a way that causes me to continue to attract something new. And the first guidance I was ever given was gratitude. Gratitude and anger can't live in the same place. Well, sometimes they actually can. I can be grateful for the anger. And my favorite expression is, thank you for the energy I shall choose to create. And I can use that anger to create something new. And in my case, I used it to create the ability to tap into my dreams and to really focus on what is the message that's coming through my dreams. What are they trying to tell me? And I focused on, okay, well, there's a message, there's people coming in. And I eventually I drew this beautiful deck that I did not invent and I did not create. Some wonderful person named Rose and Sarah did, which is my dream reading cards. And so I get out my cards and I sit with them and I start to ask, okay, what came into my dreams? I had a dream of a flat tire. What does a flat tire mean? And I began to learn a language that was mine. And that's the most important part of it. There will be a bunch of typical meanings of a flat tire, but what does a flat tire mean to me? To me, a flat tire means that I'm going to have to spend more money and I'm going to have to fix my tire. It also is a reference to the fact that something in my life needs to be replaced. And since the tires are the foundations on the car, there's 4 of them. If I got one flat tire, that my foundation is completely tipped. And I need to take something out of that foundation, get rid of it, and put in something new. And that's one of the messages that I can get specifically through my dreams, because I recognize that my body is a vehicle. We can get those messages. I had very recently this synchronistic message that came while I was driving my car. And I decided I was in lineup for a drive-through and I don't want to wait in this line. I need to run inside quickly. I couldn't do that. I couldn't turn the car around. I couldn't park the car. And I recognized that night it took me 3 tries to park the car, and literally it was because somebody was illegally parked in a space and I couldn't get her to move. But I didn't blame her. That was her choice. And my choice was to either stay in the lineup or get turned around. By the time I came back out of the shop that I had not stayed in the lineup for, there was a police officer came to ask me why I couldn't park my car. I could have said, well, that's because a lady parked over there in the wrong space. And I just explained it to him because I didn't have any concerns about whether I was right or I was wrong. I was going to have to wait now anyways. The universe had decided I was going to spend a certain amount of time at that space, whether it was in the lineup to go through the drive-through or waiting for the police officer to say you're safe to drive now. Something else may have happened on that road going down had I gone down a little bit sooner. And I recognized that. But what I really recognized is when I went to sleep that night, my dreams still had a car. And they had a car in it that had a flat tire, and the flat tire was actually blown, and I wasn't going to be able to repair it. I was going to have to get a new one. And that was a message for me to slow down. But because I got that message in my dream, I could then look back at the incident with the lineup and trying to get a parking space, and I could say, I also had to turn around and I was redirected. I had taken a wrong turn. Is any of this sounding familiar? Are you taking a wrong turn somewhere in your life and saying, Why do I keep getting sent the wrong way? Why do I keep getting sent back on a different path? The reason that these things happen is because you're receiving messages. We can receive those messages in a loving, joyful, laughing way with some patience. And I use that expression as well. I'm being taught patience. So the answer came when I asked my cards, what is the vehicle represented? The vehicle in my dreams, what does that represent? And what does the flat tire represent? And not only that, what does my own vehicle represent? I have a bruise on my arm from falling down in my fairy garden. Again, that was, you need to slow down because you're moving so fast, you're actually bumping into things or falling over. The two things it represented for me were nurture, and that is, I needed to give more nurture to myself. So whatever I need to replace, now my guides have given me some extra information. What do I need to replace? I need to bring in something that nurtures me. So that thing that is a flat tire is actually a good thing. It's a great message because it says, we're getting rid of something that's no longer serving you, and we're going to bring in something that nurtures you. So I decided I was going to share this with all of you because this is what I teach on my Zoom courses, on my empowerment courses, and I've decided to share bits and pieces of my courses. So the next video that I'm going to share is actually the piece that teaches you how to move through your emotions. So how do I turn anger into creativity? And what's the best way for me to do that? Thank you very much for letting me share. If you enjoyed the video, please watch, like, do whatever it is that people do on here, subscribe, and check out my videos on Empower Your Psychic Gifts. Thank you.